Today is Wednesday, June 8th. What to know about new emotional calls for gun reform and the latest ideas from a bipartisan group of senators. And preventing another tragedy, federal officials laid out the top threats to keep an eye on. Also, what could be the fourth COVID-19 vaccine available in the U.S. We'll tell you what makes this one different. Plus, a new law that could force all your favorite devices to work with the same charger. Which two companies are teaming up now just a few years after fighting it out in court? And unlimited vacation sounds great, right? What the data shows really happens when that's a workplace perk. Those stories and much more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The next 6 months could be pretty tense around the U.S., and the Homeland Security Department is taking notice. DHS released a new bulletin warning there could be an increased threat of violence with extremists trying to use the latest news to justify it. It points to a few things, like a divisive Supreme Court decision about abortion coming out soon, grievances about an increase of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border, the midterm elections this fall, and recent mass shootings that could inspire copycats. The bulletin also mentions some danger from overseas, like China, Russia, Iran, and other nations trying to amplify conspiracy theories and disinformation to cause divisions in the U.S. and weaken the country. But the DHS still says domestic extremism poses the biggest threat, and it's been keeping an eye on some concerning posts online. The DHS and FBI are now working with state and local law enforcement, and the federal government has increased grant funding to local governments and religious organizations to improve security. U.S. senators are calling for patience as they work towards some kind of compromise on gun reform. For now, they're focused on a narrow set of proposals. One of the latest ones they're talking about is an extended waiting period for people under 21 who want to buy weapons. The idea is investigators who do background checks would get more time to look into confidential juvenile records that are usually sealed, since they could turn up some mental problems or criminal histories. Remember, senators have also been considering things like red flag laws that lets courts temporarily take guns away from people deemed dangerous, more funding for mental health programs and school security, and more. Lawmakers are still working out the details of where that funding would come from, and any legislation would need at least 60 votes in the Senate. One of the top negotiators, Republican Senator John Cornyn, says he's hoping to get at least half of his fellow Republicans on board, not just the bare minimum of 10, to vote with all the Democrats. Senators are hoping to come to an agreement by the end of this week. This comes as lawmakers are under pretty intense pressure to get a deal done, since emotions are running high after recent mass shootings. This week, shooting survivors and victims' family members have been testifying in public hearings about the damage gun violence has had on their lives. Also yesterday, Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey met with President Biden and key lawmakers. Then he made an emotional call to Congress to pass gun reforms. McConaughey is actually from Uvalde, Texas, where a shooter killed 19 children and 2 teachers at an elementary school just 2 weeks ago. He told their stories and asked lawmakers to pass legislation in honor of them, while still protecting the Second Amendment right to bear arms. A new report from the World Bank found many countries around the world might be dealing with a recession soon. It predicts global growth will slow to less than 3% this year, down from nearly 6% last year. And it doesn't predict a big turnaround next year or the year after either. It points to a few problems, from the war in Ukraine to rising energy and food prices to supply chain issues. The World Bank says all that could lead to 1970s-style stagflation. Stagflation happens when economic growth slows and unemployment rises, but still doesn't bring down inflation. The situation is expected to be especially bad in developing economies. The World Bank does have some suggestions, though, to avoid a worst-case scenario. It urged countries to raise interest rates to bring down inflation, limit government spending, coordinate aid for Ukraine, set up debt relief for developing economies, and more. A fourth COVID-19 vaccine option for American adults could be coming. A key panel of vaccine experts recommended the FDA authorize the shots from Novavax. The Novavax option uses a different technology from the 3 vaccines already on the market in the U.S. The approach is more traditional. The vaccine is made using small lab-built pieces of the coronavirus to stimulate immunity in the body. That's the same way current vaccines for hepatitis B and shingles were made. And some experts think that might make certain people more comfortable if they're hesitant about taking a shot that's very new. It's also already been authorized in the European Union, the UK, Australia, India, and elsewhere. In the Novavax trial, the 2-dose vaccine lowered the risk of getting COVID-19 with symptoms by 90%. Most side effects were mild to moderate and lasted just a few days. There was a small risk of heart inflammation, particularly in young men, but infectious disease experts note the risk is still much lower with this vaccine than it is with an actual COVID-19 infection. The trial was done in a group of 30,000 people, but it happened from December 2020 to February of 2021, so it's not clear how well this one will hold up against more recent variants of the virus. Either way, there's still no exact timeline for when the doses might become available. The FDA is not expected to make a decision right away because Novavax just submitted more manufacturing data a few days ago, so the review is still underway. But the FDA does usually follow the panel's recommendations, so stay tuned. More news just ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. And instead of just getting my perspective on this week's sponsor, you're getting to hear from my husband, Dan, who is also a very important partner in this whole parenting thing. We split up the diaper duties pretty well, I think. Dan, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Whoever's on duty gets...
parenting duty.
Yeah, that's right.
Something I love about you is that you don't accept just okay when we're talking about stuff that we use on a daily basis. We are all about trial and error and doing the research to get the best product possible because it pays off in the end. So I am really happy with using Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit diapers now. What about you?
We've gone through what hasn't worked and we found what has. The pull-up style is perfect for Dax right now. So as soon as you got him cleaned up, you stand him up, you step him into the diaper, and he can be standing up in his happy little self. That really works for us. The tearaway sides, I think, are a really great design.
With these diapers, there's no gap in the back. It's comfortable, it's stretchy, it's soft, and it's hypoallergenic. So buy in store and download the Pampers Club app today to start earning rewards with every diapers and wipes purchase. Do you have a bunch of chargers somewhere in a drawer that only work with certain devices and not others? Well, Europe wants to help clear that cable clutter and cut down on electronic waste. A new first-of-its-kind law is likely coming to the European Union that will require most new electronic devices to use the same type of charger. It means by 2024, all new smartphones, tablets, digital cameras, handheld video game devices, headphones, earbuds, portable speakers, and more will need to use USB-C charging ports. The same rule will go into effect for laptops by 2026. Also, the companies will be required to sell the devices without a charger in an effort to cut down on waste. Some companies behind the devices, though, don't agree this is a good idea. Apple will likely be the most impacted since it's the only major smartphone maker that still uses its own unique charging port on its phones. In fact, Apple told EU officials the new law will render obsolete as many as 1 billion devices and accessories that currently use the company's connector. Critics also say it'll stop innovation, and new charging technologies won't be developed in the future. This new law still needs final approval before going into effect, but at this point it's seen as more of a formality and is expected to get the go-ahead. Two companies that used to fight over self-driving technology in court are now teaming up. Uber and Alphabet-owned Waymo have apparently looked past their legal woes, and they've started a long-term partnership. Waymo's self-driving big rigs will be used on Uber Freight. Uber Freight connects trucks and drivers if needed with the businesses looking to ship something, similar to how the traditional Uber app pairs drivers with people looking for a ride. The partnership is expected to begin within the next year, but there's no specific timeline just yet. The rules are changing for figure skating. The sport's governing body voted to gradually increase the minimum age to compete at the highest levels. For the upcoming season, skaters can still be as young as 15. But by the next season, the age limit will go up to 16. And by the 2026 Winter Olympics and beyond, the minimum age will be 17. The International Skating Union president called it an important and historic decision. The union said the change is meant to protect the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of skaters. This change comes 4 months after the doping scandal surrounding Russian athlete Kamila Valieva. She was just 15 at the Beijing Olympics and was seen as a top contender for a medal, but she tested positive for a banned substance. She was allowed to compete still, but faced intense pressure over the whole thing, and it raised new questions about the age of these athletes. The new age minimum will apply to various forms of skating, including not only figure skating, but also speed skating, ice dance, and more. When this football season starts, one cheerleader will be breaking barriers on the sidelines. Justine Lindsay is one of the newest members of the Carolina Panthers cheerleading squad, making her the first openly transgender cheerleader in the NFL. This week, the director of the squad made it clear it was Lindsay's talent that landed her on the team. She told BuzzFeed, quote, "My goal is to create a team of individuals that are absolute fire on the field, but are incredible human beings in the locker room." And on Instagram this week, Lindsay said she will work to keep inspiring transgender women like her. And that's it for the main news today. So now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a message from our sponsor, KiwiCo. I'm excited to watch my 1-year-old son continue to explore and understand the world around him this summer. And I love how KiwiCo helps us both in that process. If you're not familiar, KiwiCo delivers super cool hands-on science, art, and geography projects right to your door every month. And they do all the legwork for you, providing projects that help turn your kids' curiosity into creativity with no extra work on your part. Your kids will explore new worlds and rediscover familiar ones even without leaving home. Or take your KiwiCo crate on the go while you're traveling to keep your children busy and challenged anywhere. And there's a KiwiCo crate for all ages, from infants to teens. When our baby was just an infant, it came with toys perfect for his stage of development. And as he's getting older, he'll be getting new types of science, technology, engineering, art, and math projects, all in a seriously fun, hands-on way. So make summer more awesome with KiwiCo. Get 30% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with code NEWSWORTHY at kiwico.com. Again, get 30% off your first month at kiwico.com, promo code newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. As companies try to lure new workers, they're offering some new perks. One that's popping up more and more is unlimited paid time off. UPTO, as it's called, is now available at big companies like LinkedIn, Netflix, and General Electric. And more recently, Wall Street firms like Goldman Sachs started offering it. Human resources reps say, in theory, the policy is great. It means employees can take time when needed to have fulfilling lives outside of work and to avoid burnout. But here's the thing. Some studies have found that when vacation time is unlimited, employees tend to take less of it. And when they do take time off, they're more likely to work while they're away. HR executives say the issue is that workers aren't really owed any vacation days with the UPTO system. And since there's no fixed number, every day must be cleared by the boss on a case-by-case basis. So it's tough for workers to figure out how much time they should be taking without feeling guilty. Some experts say the only way for the policy to really work is if companies also set a minimum number of PTO days and a max stretch of time people go without a break. All right, thank you so much for getting your news with us today and for making us part of your daily routine each weekday. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.